Hi everybody, this is Kathlyn Hinesley with Exploring Dimensions for All. Today I'm going to be reading Chapter 15 of my book, Welcome to Infinity, Exploring Ancient and Modern Techniques for Collaborating with Otherworldly Beings. And I really like this chapter because it offers hope of a way that people could possibly recreate perfection that may have existed at one time in history or that may exist in a certain dimension of sorts called the first time. Okay, so recreating perfection. The temples, pyramids, and other sacred structures built by ancient peoples serve as a testimony to their strong belief in spiritual forces and their commitment to promoting harmony among humans and divine beings. But what could have motivated our ancestors to move heavy stones hundreds of miles for building projects that must have taken generations to complete? And what continues to motivate Native peoples to conduct ceremonies and perform rituals with clock-like regularity to reaffirm their contact with the spirit world? To understand the passion that lies behind these efforts, one must step inside the minds of people who conceive of a different sort of universe, a universe where efforts of energy and rhythm are essential to the maintenance of form. The creation myths of numerous ancient and native peoples speak of a, quote, first time, end quote, footnote 1. And first time is spelled with an initial cap, so capital F, I-R-S-T, and capital T, I-M-E. And then footnote 1 is Jeremy Nadler describes the, quote, supermundane, end quote, quality of the, quote, first time, end quote, in Temple of the Cosmos, the ancient Egyptian experience of the sacred, Inner Traditions International, Rochester, Vermont, 05767, copyright 1996, Jeremy Nadler, pages 91 to 93. So I'm going to start again because this is a whole sentence. The creation myths of numerous ancient and native peoples speak of a, quote, first time, end quote, footnote 1, a time of the gods which existed prior to the creation of the world as we know it. First time myths contain the implication that the world, as created by the gods, was once in a pure and perfect state. Many native legends, like the story of the Garden of Eden in Genesis, describe the first time as a period in which the world was unmarred by human error. Many myths describe a time when people lived in harmony with spirit beings. Some point to a time like the fall of Adam and Eve, when people fell out of harmony with the perfection intended by their creators. This event, or series of events, contributed to the separation of humans from their spirit brothers and sisters, and the eventual loss of their perfect and harmonious environment. According to many native traditions, people bear both the capacity and responsibility for reestablishing the harmony of the first time through the perfection of rituals and ceremonies to facilitate contact and collaboration with spirit beings. Peoples such as Australian Aborigines and the Hopi Indians of America's Southwest believe that many of the ceremonies and rituals they perform today were handed down to them by spirit ancestors for the purpose of maintaining the world. Although there is a tendency for Western anthropologists to view creation stories as mythological descriptions of the past, it should be kept in mind that traditional cultures often conceive of time very differently than we do. In some native cultures where contact with the spirit world makes knowledge of both the past and the future possible, the first time, or time of creation, is viewed as a realm that can be contacted or felt, rather than merely as a specific point along a time continuum. The fall from grace described in Genesis, a scenario in which human actions bring humanity out of alignment with divine will, is viewed as a scenario or condition that can manifest at any time and must therefore be continually protected against through a realignment with spiritual forces. Regular contact with spirit ancestors is seen as a means of preventing disintegration of the universe. To realign the human community with the will of its creators, rituals are performed that are believed to literally recreate the energetic feeling of the first time, or bring it from its past inactive state into an active now. The ancient Egyptians believed in a state of absolute truth and order, which they referred to as the Maat, and this is capital M-A-A-T. Footnote 2. And footnote 2 is Nadler, Temple of the Cosmos, page 93. In Temple of the Cosmos, Nadler explains that, quote, Maat is established only at the creation, and at the creation is in italics. She is, in a sense, the very substance of the first time, 3 ellipsis dots. Maat must constantly be renewed and reestablished in the face of the cosmological and moral tendencies toward disorder. End quote. Footnote 3. Ibid, page 96. Conceiving of the first time as a feeling rather than as a point in the past allows for the possibility that it can, through human effort, be brought into the present once again. This is, in fact, the underlying purpose of many traditional ceremonies aimed at promoting harmony with the gods. Australian Aborigines believe their spirit ancestors created the world by singing, footnote 4, in dream time. And footnote 4 is Bruce Chatwin, The Song Lines, New York, Penguin Books, 1988, page 11. These ancestors are thought to have left behind pieces of songs as they walked, creating a path of music through the landscape. Footnote 5, Ibid, page 13. The Aborigines believe their ancestors later took the forms of mountains, rocks, water holes, and other parts of the natural environment, animating them with their spirits. Quote, in Aboriginal spiritual tradition, the force of the spirit ancestor, and it's capital S, P-I-R-I-T, capital A, N-C-E-S-T-O-R, resides at the location of their resting place, and this spiritual power can be tapped through ritual. 4 ellipsis dots, end quote, footnote 6. So footnote 6 is Anna Voigt and Neville Drury, Wisdom from the Earth, The Living Legacy of the Aboriginal Dream Time, Boston, Shambhala, 1998, page 27. Quote, each totemic place had its own song, ceremony, and set of objects. 4 ellipsis dots. To the Aborigine, these sites were increase centers from which the appropriate ritual could elicit the life essence or karunba of living things, so ensuring the fecundity, the increase, of the particular plant or animal associated with the site. End quote, footnote 7, Paul Devereux, Places of Power, page 12. According to Aboriginal thought, each person originates from a specific ancestor. People who originated from the same ancestor, such as the kangaroo or wallaby, are considered brothers. Footnote 8. Chatwin, The Song Lines, page 12. Each individual is considered responsible for periodically traveling along the same paths or, quote, song lines, end quote, that his or her spirit ancestor walked at the time of creation. While walking along, quote, song lines, end quote, Aborigines sing specific songs associated with these pathways to re-energize the landscape and keep it as it was created. Footnote 9, Ibid, page 14. In a sense, then, Aborigines see themselves as responsible for re-energizing matter through the use of sound. Could the songs sung by Aborigines when making their journeys actually make it possible for them to connect with beings operating at specific frequencies? Does the singing welcome in spirits or forces important to the maintenance of life, health, and harmony? If all entities in the universe and all matter within it possess the qualities of light, sound, and vibration, and any rate of vibration can potentially affect any other, we are living in a universe where any action we perform can have an impact that is truly infinite in scope. The actions we perform, the sounds we make, the things we create, even the brainwaves we produce, must generate effects far beyond what we are conscious of. We are truly infinite beings in an infinite universe. And yet, with all of our knowledge, consciousness, and power, we know or are generally aware of surprisingly little. Our waking minds typically organize information in a fragmentary manner. We pull apart pieces of the truth and put them back together. When we have questions, we consider possible answers and then test their validity in a piecemeal fashion. Our scientists painstakingly gather information and then attempt to utilize the rational mind as a means of acquiring knowledge. While this may work over the long haul, it's really quite slow. People in traditional cultures turn to the spirit world to acquire knowledge and information for success in healing, agriculture, and other human endeavors. Alas, techniques used by our ancestors for millennia to ensure biological, spiritual, and environmental health have, for the most part, fallen by the wayside. Drumming, dancing, singing, and chanting to spirits are no longer common practices in modern industrial societies. We now attempt to cope with problems such as disease, famine, and environmental degradation with economic, political, and scientific techniques developed in just the last few centuries. The impotence of these techniques, next to the problems they are meant to cure, is obvious. With toxic waste, global warming, increasing population pressures, declining natural resources, and AIDS and other new diseases on the rise, it's clear the human race needs help. Let's suppose for a moment that plants, rocks, mountains, and other things in the natural environment possess spirits that can be communicated with, just as traditional peoples have long believed. How might the world change if we suddenly found ourselves capable of communicating with spirits responsible for weather patterns, agricultural growth, and healing? What if we could contact and collaborate with such spirits, as well as with advanced beings from other planets and dimensions? What amazing things might such beings teach us? Okay, that's the end of chapter 15. And the next part is part 3, Pathways to the Future. And it talks about modern experiments and things that people are doing in the present day, which help to take them to other realms and communicate with spirit and collaborate with spirit beings. Thank you very much for listening, and please give this a thumbs up if you liked it, and have a wonderful day.